like, and subscribe if you've ever had a run-in with a Karen. And hey, drop a comment below with your city or country. I love hearing where you're all tuning in from. All right, let's dive in because what you're about to hear is so absurd it could only have happened to me. Picture this. You're relaxing in your own pool. The sun's out. The vibes are perfect. Then out of nowhere, it turns into an episode of Cops HOA edition starring one Karen and her wannabe enforcer of a husband. No, just me. Figures it was a Tuesday, and the heat was so thick you could butter toast with it. I'm Miles Corbin, tech entrepreneur, recent transplant to the sleepy town of Harmony Glade. And that afternoon I decided a chill float on my flamingo with an iced tea was just what I needed. Life was good. Until, excuse me, sir. My eyes popped open. Standing at the edge of my yard was a woman, radiating pure Karen energy, practically frothing at the mouth. Next to her, a guy built like a mini fridge, with arms buzz-cut and all wearing a tank top that screamed, "I lift poorly." "Yes," I asked, really trying not to sound annoyed. "Can I help you?" "Yes, you can," she snapped, her voice echoing off the water. "We've had reports of suspicious activity on this property." I blinked, pushing myself up from the float. Suspicious activity? Like what, a flamingo meetup? "Don't get smart," she barked, her face turning magenta. "We've been watching you. We don't like what we see." Buzzcut puffed up like a pigeon. "Yeah, you don't belong here. This is a family neighborhood." I squinted. "Okay, I bought this place legally. Got the deed and everything. Doesn't matter." Karen waved her hand. "You're lowering the property value. We want you out. This neighborhood isn't for people like you." I inhaled slowly, channeling my inner monk. "Ma'am, with all due respect, you've got the wrong idea. I live here." "Oh, we know," she said smugly. "My husband Dale is training to be a police officer. He knows how to handle this." DL flexed. I had to admit it was a solid flex. "You've got 5 minutes to pack and leave, or we're calling the sheriff." I laughed. "You're calling the sheriff on me for swimming in my pool." I shook my head. "Okay, delve before you dial. You might want to know who you're dealing with." I climbed out of the water, grabbed a towel and dried off. Their expressions, pure comedy. Karen was vibrating with rage. DL looked like he wasn't sure whether to call the sheriff or run. "Look," I said, trying not to grin. "You're on my property. You're harassing me. I suggest you leave before this turns ugly." "We're not leaving," Karen shouted, planting herself like a garden gnome. "This is for the good of the community." I sighed. "All right, you want to do this, fine." I headed inside while they squawked behind me. "Give me 1 minute." I called. I threw on a suit I had prepped earlier, grabbed my briefcase, the one I've had since college, and stepped outside. They were still ranting. Karen on her soapbox. DL flexing like he was auditioning for an energy drink commercial. I walked up to them, calm, confident, and smiling. Opened my briefcase, pulled out my badge. It gleamed in the sun like poetic justice. "No," I said, holding it up. "Let's try this again. I'm Chief Corbin, and you're both under arrest. Trespassing harassment." Karen's face drained of color. Dial's jaw hit the ground. They stared at my badge like it was radioactive. "Chief," Karen stammered, "but Dell's going to be a cop." "Lovely," I said flatly, "but right now you're obstructing the police chief. Know what that means?" "He's still in training," she protested, pointing at DL. "He doesn't even have a badge yet." "Well, I do," I replied, clipping it to my belt. "And right now you're making a serious mistake." I motioned to my car, a sleek black Tesla, the kind that says, "Yes, I work in tech. Get in, we're going downtown." They hesitated, but I wasn't playing dial deflated like a popped beach ball. Karen kept sputtering, but the fire was gone. As I drove them in, I chuckled. The irony was just too rich. Here I was, the new police chief of Harmony Glade, arresting two local wannabes trying to run me out of my own house. You really can't make this stuff up. But the day wasn't over. I still had to explain this circus to my department, and something told me they were going to love it. The Harmony Glade police station looked like your average small-town setup. Outdated, dusty, staffed by folks who'd seen it all twice. As I walked in with Karen and DL trailing behind, the room went silent. Sergeant Miller, mustache of legend, eyes like radar, raised an eyebrow. "Chief Corbin," he said. "Sergeant," I replied, deadpan. "I'm bringing these two in trespassing harassment," his expression worth $1,000. He glanced at Karen, now trying to blend into the wallpaper, then at Dell, who was studying his shoes like they held the secrets of the universe. "On who?" Miller asked. "On me," I said. The room exploded. Even the dispatcher cracked a smile. I raised a hand. All right, let's sort this out." "Miller, can you take their statements? I'll fill you in later." He led them away, still chuckling. I headed to my office. Small, but with a nice view of the town square. Sat down, took a breath. About an hour later, Miller knocked. Chief got their statements, and, wow, he handed me the files. Karen's was a chaotic rant about property values. Dial's surprisingly coherent, just misguided, said he was protecting the community. "What do you think?" I asked. "Well," Miller said, stroking his legendary mustache, "they technically broke the law, but they clearly didn't know who you were. Doesn't mean they get a free pass." I said, "They crossed a line. We need to send a message." Miller nodded. "Big fine, and maybe community service." I grinned. "I like it, so that's what we did. Big fine, 100 hours of community service. Trash pickup duty along the highway, bright orange vests that read, 'I trespassed and harassed.' Genius word spread fast. The whole town was buzzing. I became a bit of a local legend, the new police chief who took down a car. People shook my hand at the diner, the grocery store, the post office. Even the mayor called me in miles. He said, 'You've only been here a few weeks, and already made more impact than most do in years.' I smiled. 'Just doing my job, Mayor.' But the real cherry on top, seeing Karen and Dial in those vests. One afternoon, I caught them picking up trash near the square. I strolled over. "How's it going?" I asked. Straight-faced Karen glared. Dial didn't look up. "Remember I said, respect your neighbors, follow the law, and maybe you'll avoid orange vests." I winked, walked off, left them simmering, but it didn't stop there. A week later, I got a call. Dell had dropped out of police training, said the whole incident had been too much. I felt a little bad. Then I remembered him threatening me. Poolside, and that sympathy melted real quick. Life in Harmony. Glade settled into a rhythm. I focused on the job. New programs, better training, safer neighborhoods. And yes, I still swam in my pool. But now when someone strolls near the yard, I make sure my badge is close. Because if there's one thing I learned from the Karen and Dale show, it's this: life's wild. Stay calm, stay sharp, and never underestimate the power of a well-timed badge. Hope this story made you laugh, or at least gave you something to chew on. And if you ever find yourself dealing with a Karen and her sidekick, remember, stay cool and keep your badge.